the base of the Is It Time for Tea machine is set now, dry, the start of it, but I've forgotten something, made a major error. I'd originally planned to have Florence's head, here's Florence's replicant sister, the first version, sitting on a slightly raised section of brass, and then in an even more raised section it just needs a little bit more distance upwards. Make a little bit more of the fact that she hasn't got an obvious body. Glue that over there, that covers up the original design, the engraved design, and then that should be big enough to house that, and then Florence's sister's head on top, which I think will look really nice. I think that's what it should look like. See, sides are nicely varnished and the front's held on with 3 screws either side so I can get access to it when I build it, add things to it. The back is all separable as well. I haven't bothered putting the screws in down here because that's where I'm going to get into it as well. So important not to glue everything together, never thinking you'd have to get into it or anything. We've got the other side, nice and shiny, and back to the front. So the next job is to think about a control, a start and stop control, or on and off button. Now originally I was thinking possibly, I've got all sorts of leftover knobs and bits and pieces, brass knobs and things, so I was thinking perhaps it could have something that slid up and down. I don't really want a push button because that wouldn't look right. It needs to be something that has some mechanical effect, almost as though by lifting this up you're winding something to get it all to work. I thought, yeah, it's a bit close now with that. There's a bigger knob as well, and that's just too big. Looks nice though, the old worn down brass finish, but that's too big as well. Then I thought, hang on a minute, I had some of this, what is it, clothes rail with these little end caps. I thought, well, if you turn this round to the side, it would be possible to mount a section of that with one of these caps at the top and bottom on the side. The problem with that is this stuff is plated and varnished and it just looks too golden. If you like gold, it's great. I thought, well, let's see if I can burn the varnish off with a blowtorch, and it just basically melted it, and because it's a soft low temperature alloy it's cast from, it just started melting the alloy as well, so that ruled that out. So I also had a lovely little porcelain knob as well, left over from something or other and sitting around for years. Hopefully found its day of resurrection now, because what I've decided to do is to use 15mm copper, piece of copper pipe. I'm going to have an elbow here and at the top. I decided against having big brass fittings because it'd just be too much. I've cut out and varnished 2 little, I don't know what you'd call them, wooden washers that are going to reinforce where this pipe goes in. So it's going to come out, down and in. Onto that I realised I'd got one of these non-return valves that you legally have to have on your garden tap, and this one had a little button in the middle to bleed air out if it got stuck in it. And what I found, having done some rather dangerous stuff on the lathe, basically this slides up and down. I drilled out the valve and everything from inside, turned a piece of brass down that I had that happened to have the same thread. In fact, it was interesting to learn because this is a gas fitting. The gas fitting, whatever old-fashioned thread that is, actually screws perfectly into the little hole where the bleed valve went. So that's going to glue into there. And then that means I can slide this up and down. That means the idea now is to have it mounted, just turn that round a little bit, about there. So it starts off, gravity pulls it down, there'll be a spring to slow it down at the bottom. When you want it to work, to tell you if it's time for tea, you lift it up, it switches itself on and somehow latches itself in place. Jumping around a bit, I've now started working on the control slider here. So I've got the copper pipe fitted in place. I've also, if this will focus, yeah, on this part, the bit that's going to slide up and down, I've milled out a little slot and put a magnet in there which will work. I've tested it and actually the magnetism is strong enough to go through the copper of the pipe and work a little reed switch inside the tube. That's what's actually going to tell the Arduino to switch on and off. I'm now currently working on a way of holding this up. I've done some experiments, getting all confused with what videos are what now because it's all getting very exciting and I just want to keep going. But I'm using some ball bearings and a plunger and things which you may be able to hear. I'm designing yet another little insert that's going to support these little balls and things and hopefully hold the control slider up. You slide it up, it locks in place until it's finished telling you if it's time for tea, then it drops back down. That's what I'm working on at the moment. I also need to sort out a horn because she's going to speak with a crackly voice and it would be really nice to have, you know, it's the definitive machine for a really nice brass horn. So there's this sort which I've used on other machines, smaller one, or some time ago I bought a plastic trumpet like you do. Here's a plastic trumpet and that's much taller, so I may use that. I'm sure it's better made because this trumpet is actually considered to be a musical instrument, whereas the other one is one of those annoying vuvuzelas from football matches. So this wants to go up here. I also want to put a bend in here. Now I've got a 3D printer, that might be possible, so the horn is actually facing forward and it'll just be this trumpet part of it, the horn part rather, that goes down into the case, the cabinet. So that's the stage we're at the moment. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe and click the notification button on the YouTube channel as well. Thanks very much.
You have awakened me. I assume you wish to partake of a cup of tea? Let me consult the gauges.